So, the 9th wave update just got released, and once again, World War II enjoyers don't have many new toys to play with. The Horny 2 is a welcome addition, much like the Premium Puma, but still they are just reskinned or slightly modified vehicles we already have in-game. Just like the video I made in 2024, I think it was, I am once again bringing you a list of vehicles that I'd love to see being added to the game. They are for the most part unique in their own way, and I think one or two may actually surprise you. Last reminder before we start, note that those vehicles aren't in any specific order really, and some of them are just variants of vehicles already in the game, but they look cool and that's what matters. Also, I won't go into much details about the stats of those vehicles, I'll leave that to the experts. Finally, all vehicles in this list were actually built and existed, or still exist, at some point in history, so they fit Gaijin's criteria for being added to the game. Let's start with Germany and with the Marder 1. Right now we have in-game the Marder 3, but not the earlier models. I must say that I really like the look of this Marder. It reminds me a lot of a more compact and smaller Ferdinand. Other than that, it's carrying the usual 75mm. This tank could totally sit between the Panzerjäger 1 and the Marder 3 at like 2.0. Another vehicle which could be added around this BR is the SDKFZ 250/9, a half-track carrying a 20mm gun. This tank would pretty much play the same as any other 20mm gun vehicle at low tier for Germany that we already have. However, I really like half-tracks, and for the most part, they are usually pretty good in War Thunder. Another half-track I'd like to see added, but this time maybe as a premium or as an event vehicle, is the SDKFZ 251 Walking Stuka. This one is in my mind the German version of the Andreyusha, which we got a few years ago in War Thunder. This one is a half-track carrying up to 6 shells with a caliber of 280mm or 320mm. Clearly it would be a collector's item and would definitely not perform well on the battlefield, but still a very cool looking vehicle, very unique. Let's take a break from Germany, but let's stay in the rocket spirit with the Sherman Whizbang. This one looks very familiar. You might be thinking that it is the same as the premium Sherman Calliope, and honestly, close enough. The main difference between the two is the type of rockets they are firing. Compared to the Calliope, this one is carrying much bigger rockets, but has a lower number of them. I mostly want this one to be added as a tech tree option, since most rocket vehicles are overpriced premiums in general. Now that we mentioned the Sherman, let's keep going with the Sherman. If you watched my first video, you probably remember that there was an amphibious Sherman in it, the one with the snorkel. Today I bring you yet another amphibious Sherman with the Sherman DD, or Sherman Duplex Drive. Other than just looking pretty funny and being able to float on water, this Sherman is actually slightly different, for it has a unique armor layout. It is much more visible if the screens on the sides are removed. You can actually see how pointy it looks compared to the regular Sherman. Once again, pretty much a regular Sherman, but it looks cool and this is what matters. Let's talk about minor nations now. How about bringing reinforcements for, let's say, Hungary? The 40M Nimrod is a Hungarian SPA, and the most observant of you will immediately recognize the inspiration of this tank's design, the Swedish L62. This one is pretty much the same, but has some components of other Hungarian tanks and a brand new turret. Italy doesn't have an SPA at around 3.0, so it would fit right in. Also, Hungarian voice lines are always fun to hear. Speaking of voice lines, Polish voice lines are great in War Thunder. Unfortunately, we barely have any Polish tanks in the game. The 7TP could fix that a bit, for it is a single turret tank carrying a 37mm Bofors gun. It could go at around 1.7 or 2.0 and I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, let's hope for more Polish tanks in the future. Let's continue with low tier vehicles and let me introduce you to the BT-7A. This one is the bastard child of the BT-7 and the T-26. I don't think it would be better than the regular BT-7, but you know, why not after all. Alright, next we have the BA-6. and it is a vehicle that would be a great addition to the Russian tech tree. We already have the BA-11 as a premium and no longer available vehicle, so this one would fit pretty well as a researchable option. Carries the same gun as the BA-11, the main difference being the chassis of the vehicle. Let's return to Germany for a sec with another car-looking vehicle, the SD KFZ-231 8RAD. This one is basically the ancestor of the Puma. It carries yet another 20mm gun, and as you can expect from a wheeled vehicle, its mobility is quite good. Honestly, I just want this because it looks like a more intimidating Puma and I love the shape it has. Let's put an end to the list of German vehicles I've put in this video with the Borgward Wanzer Alp C. This one, well, it is a bit unique for it is a radio-controlled vehicle. Very few were built for they were very inefficient, but a handful were armed with 6 Panzerschrecks launch tubes to deal with armored vehicles. Not sure how it could be introduced or how it would play, but it's still a vehicle I'd love to see in game at some point. I still have many tanks to talk about, but since I don't want this video to be too long, let's wrap this up with a British tank. The Mark IV Centaur tank. This tank is a variation of the Cromwell and carries a 95mm howitzer. I could totally see this tank being played like a much faster and more maneuverable Churchill Heavy, of course with a lesser destructive power and maybe a slightly higher BR. So there you go. This was my little selection of vehicles I'd love to see added. Compared to my first video, I guess this time I kept it a bit more realistic, but I'd love to hear your ideas or vehicle suggestions. The list of vehicles I want to see keeps getting bigger and bigger, so hopefully Gaijin will add a few of those in the near future. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this selection, or that you discovered some new World War II gems by watching this, and with that said, I'll see you in the next one.